Live. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right? Oh! The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa.
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score! And we'll see you next week, but until then, as always, go Chiefs.
2 words, everyone. We're back. Get on your feet. Give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair. Woo! Because guess what? Arrowhead Addict pregame show is back for the 2023-2024 regular season. Week 1 underway, the start of the NFL season. We are here. It is time. With that long, cold off season, we were hibernating like we were bears, but we come out with all of this exuding confidence. We're going to tame those lions. But before we go any farther, Joe, Matt, Connor, how are you guys doing?
Never been better. Been waiting for this day all year. It feels like Christmas morning. I saw Pat get out on the field. The crowd erupts. They're going to see the banner. It looks electric outside. I'm happy to be here. It's one of the best days of the year, man.
I'm good. I just wish these absences weren't here, right? Like all off season long, we had all this celebration, the parades, Saturday Night Live, Mahomes everywhere, Arrowhead Lager. And then like lately, all we're talking about is who's not there. And I just hate that. This should have been the culmination of like an off season of celebration. And instead we're talking about Kelsey and Jones. I know we'll get there. I just hate that there's a cloud overhead right now.
Hey, no downers right now, baby.
That's
We're
what I'm
only
saying.
talking uppers. Next man up, Noah Gray, season in full effect. We're going to talk all this and more. We'll give you guys the inactive list. We're going to talk about keys to the game, player of the game. We got a little fun little betting segment we're going to do with Joe Summers. But before we go any farther, everyone out there, we have a really cool thing that we're doing right now with PointsBet Sportsbook. They are running a new betting promo, and you don't want to miss this. For a limited time, new users can sign up and place a $50 bet to receive $150 promotional credit at fanatics.com. Even if your first bet loses, you still receive $150 credit they can use to maybe purchase a new jersey, maybe a new jersey of your favorite Chiefs player. So to claim this offer, go to arrowheadaddict.com/bets by scanning the QR code on screen or by clicking the link in the description. Sign up for PointsBet through our link and make sure you receive your $150 credit. That's arrowheadaddict.com/bets. Get you a jersey. Come on now. This is an incredible deal. Get a jersey, place 50, get $150 credit at fanatics.com. Offers available until September 18th to new customers 21 plus and physically present in legal gambling states. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Check the episode description for the full terms of the offer. All right now, fellas.
Cheers to that. Well read.
The banner's getting raised. That's last year. Season's over. This Super Bowl, it's over. This is a new slate. Game 1, Chiefs, Lions. Let's start with you, Matt, Connor. Let's start with the keys of the game for you. What are some of the keys of the game, some matchups you're looking for in tonight's matchup?
Yeah, I'll tell you my main one, and it's one that no one's really talking about. Here's what I think. They say the game is won or lost in the trenches, and the Chiefs are hurting there on the defensive side. But these Chiefs have never been this good or deep at linebacker and in the secondary. And I'm wondering how Spags is going to flip the script on that mantra to say, hey, even when we're weaker up front, we can actually now do things we've never been able to do in the second and the third level. So can those linebackers make up, like seal the edges if the young edges are having a problem with that? You know, can they supplement the run? Can they make plays into the backfield? Can this young secondary be trusted to stay with their men long enough to give a weakened front time to make plays? Like, to me, it's going to be relying on usually the units you don't hear about, but I would love to see the Chiefs defense make a greater stand than maybe expected tonight because of areas of excellence that we just haven't had since Mahomes came on board.
Joe, what do you got?
So I've got two. The first is similar to Connor's. I want to see in particular Drew Tranquil in coverage. Lions spent heavy draft capital on Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm expecting the pass rush to not quite be at its best, so they're probably going to have time to leak out in the flat and do those running back screens and things like that. Tranquil is presumptively our best coverage linebacker, so I want to see if he can slow down Gibbs and stop that offense, because if the Lions, the idea of the Lions winning this game, probably going to rely on controlling the clock, using Gibbs, using David Montgomery. And if Tranquil can step up and be that coverage linebacker to stop him, then it's going to be hard for the Lions to win the game. And then the second on the other side, I'm really excited to watch Sky Moore. Brett Veach has been talking him up this week. Travis Kelce obviously not playing, so someone's going to have to step up into that safety blanket type of role. Chiefs used Sky Moore all over the field last year, even in a limited capacity, and I want to see if he's actually taking that step forward to be that trusted weapon. So those are the two players that I'm watching most closely tonight.
Yeah, for me, offensively, it's how do the Chiefs tackles Donovan Smith, Jawan Taylor, now preseason's over. First regular season action in a Kansas City Chief uniform, going up against a good, not great, but a good pass rush in Aiden Hutchinson and James Houston. They combined for, I want to say, 17 and a half sacks last year. Hutchinson with 9.5 came on strong that second half of the season. James Houston, I believe, finishing with 8. While, again, the Detroit Lions defense isn't great, I think the Chiefs will move the ball. They're going to score a ton of points. I'm still looking forward to Donovan Smith and Jawan Taylor. Now, defensively for Kansas City, you guys have touched on it, but again, for me, it's the linebackers. How do the linebackers handle Jahmyr Gibbs as not just a runner, but a receiver, and David Montgomery? That is a nice 1-2 punch that the Detroit Lions have. Now, Nick Bolton, Leo Chenal, they excel stopping the run. Drew Tranquil excels in pass coverage. Willie Gay Jr. excels in pass coverage. Drew Tranquil can also get sent on blitzes. I think this actually lines up pretty good for Kansas City, and it's going to be the first showcase of one of the strongest groups, linebacker groups, I should say, in the entire NFL. I'm very much looking forward to this. I think the Chiefs have the advantage here. Now, for everyone listening and wondering who the inactives are for Kansas City tonight, no Travis Kelce, Nick Jones, out. Darius Rush, out. B.J. Thompson, out. Wanye Morris, Lucas Niang, out. And Neil Farrell, out. That is your inactive list. Not a big surprise. Maybe you would have thought Wanye Morris. Maybe you would have thought Lucas Niang. Maybe not both, but both the backup tackles outside of Prince Tega Wanogho, they are listed as inactive for this game.
Which, by the way, who would have guessed that Wanogho would be the most game-ready tackle on this roster of Niang, Morris, and Wanogho in that battle? Kudos to him for fighting through that competition and winning an active spot.
I want to ask you guys this. There's a lot of Detroit Lions fans in town. I actually went and grabbed lunch with Verderam and Patrick Allen. They're going to the game tonight. We went to the OG Joe's, and I get it. It's a tourist trap on game day. Of course, visiting fans are going to come. But I'm just going to go ahead and say it. They showed out. I mean, there are a lot of Detroit Lions fans in Kansas City. My thought to you guys is this almost the Super Bowl for the Detroit Lions? I'm not saying they obviously have goals and aspirations of making the playoffs and the NFC's down. I get all that. But they've not been in a big game in a while. The last time I remember them playing in a big game, it was David Blau on Thanksgiving. Like, now they're on the main stage, the opening night of NFL football against the Super Bowl champions. One, just give me your thoughts on Detroit Lions packing the stadium and what this game means to their franchise.
Well, first, good for you guys. Honestly, that's cool. I like it when people care about sports. I remember back when the Royals had the wild card game, and it felt like the most important thing that had ever happened because we finally had a meaningful sporting event. And that's kind of what this is for them. They have expectations, favored to win the division. If I was in their shoes, I'd be trying to come down and watch as well. But I think they're going to see how a champion actually performs. So they'll get a front row class to the Mahomes show. And so good for them. They get to have their excitement. They get to see how a champion operates and hopefully enjoy some good barbecue too, just like you did at Joe's.
Yeah, I mean, look, you would buy that ticket too, Sterling. You would come all the way here too. If before last year, you were used to fourth place, fourth place, fourth place, fourth place. Soundgarden was just coming out the last time that the Detroit Lions made the playoffs, right? I mean, it was like we were like buying tickets to Pulp Fiction at the time in the movie theater. These things were crazy. It was, it's been so long that when you get the chance to represent your team with some actual pride and get to see a world-class stadium I'll bet all these Lions fans are also secondarily just excited to experience Arrowhead. Like just the legend of Arrowhead. You see the Chiefs. You could check off the fact that you saw Mahomes in person. It's all that too. So I can't blame him if it costs him a lot of money. I can't blame him.
Yeah, I'm actually excited for Lions fans because they've been very, very downtrodden for a while now, and they've always been there supporting their team. They've always been loud. They've always traveled well. Got to give the Lions fans a lot of credit. From all accounts, and I saw it in person, very nice, very courteous. They all got a good meal. Now let's hope they go home with an L. I can't go too far there. A couple questions I want to get to from our Ring of Honor in our Discord. We have a membership. If you guys want to join, you can check it out in the description below. But a couple of Ring of Honor questions I want to hit on. One from Jess says, what's the offense look like without Travis Kelce tonight? And what's the defense going to look like without Chris Jones? Joe, do you want Jones or Kelce? I'll let you have your druthers. You can pick first. Who do you want to talk about?
I'll take Kelce because I know how much Connor loves Chris Jones. So I think that we're going to see a lot of McKinnon, honestly. I think he's going to kind of fulfill that safety valve. The role that Travis Kelce plays, the improvisation, the chemistry that he has with Mahomes, Noah Gray can't 100% replicate that. He can, to some degree, do his best impression, but I don't think that they're going to just say, okay, Gray, go do all the same stuff that Trav does. So I think that we're going to see a lot more of that intermediate passing game. The Lions played man coverage at the highest rate in the league last year, which we'll talk about in the bets, but it made them allow the most rushing yards to quarterbacks because if your back is turned and run down the field, obviously you can't see. So I expect Mahomes to run around a little bit. I expect us to hit McKinnon on some screens, look at Sky Moore under the middle. And I think that we're going to, particularly early, take a few deep shots to MVS to try to spread that defense out and open that up.
Man, I think you're right about that, by the way. I think Pacheco's in for a big night. I think he's in for a real big night because the Lions cannot defend. They couldn't defend the run in the past, and they didn't do much to improve on that this offseason. I think Pacheco's in for a big night, which, by the way, during preseason, don't forget, they had to tell Pacheco to slow down. He was like one of those cartoon characters where they're like running in place for like a good second before they actually take off. So I think Pacheco's just hungry to get moving, and no one's really talking about him. Look, I'll say this about Chris Jones. Here's the thing. At this point, the Katz brothers are less popular than the movie for Cats the musical. That's how bad they are. That's how horrible this whole thing has gotten. These guys have no idea what they're doing.
No Cats brothers, no bad vibes. Good things.
I just cannot believe that Jones is sitting out this game. It's going to cost him $1.2 million to sit this game out. I just can't believe it. So
that's so much KC beer.
It's so much KC beer. So look, the Chiefs cannot replicate Chris Jones. You can't. You can't come up with a game plan to, since we don't have Jones, let's do what he normally does by doing this. All the other guys aren't going to get the one-on-ones that they normally would get. They're going to be able to double up on guys like Karlaftis or whoever is showing up strong tonight. Mike Dan is at his best from the interior, so they're going to slide him in and put him in the best position possible to get the straightforward rush there. So that's where you're going to see him at work. It just sucks that we're losing Omenihu as well. But again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. Trent McDuffie tonight, L'Jarius Sneed tonight, Josh Williams, Jalen Watson, they're going to have to stay with their man a half second to a second longer in order to give this front four time to get up there. And there's going to be stunts and blitzes, but you're going to see Sneed, you're going to see Connor, you're going to see Tranquil, you're going to see Chenal, you're going to see plenty of blitzes because that's how they have to compensate until some of the guys start coming back, whether or not they're repped by the quality agents known as the Katz brothers. So, yeah. Hey, by the way, big hats off. Jalen Butler, member, a super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. He says, cheers to the new season. I'll be tuned into the pod the entire season. Thank you so much. Keep going up, fellas. 33-27 Chiefs. Love to hear it. Love to see it. Thanks so much, Jalen.
We appreciate you, Jalen.
Jalen, you're the man, dude. Always appreciate you. I want to give my thoughts really quickly on the Chiefs defense without Chris Jones. I'll wrap this up nicely and kind of have an open-ended question for you guys. We've talked about the linebackers. We know the corners are going to have to hold longer. We know Spags has his plate full, especially with these designed blitzes. But I think the Chiefs have the horses in the back seven to make that happen. When it comes to the defensive line in general, we know Karlaftis, he's going to be out there. But my question from there is, do we see Mike Dana kick in at any point? Because if you have Turk Wharton and Derek Nottie on the field at the same time, you're not getting a huge push up the middle after the quarterback. If you have Derek Nottie and Keandre Coburn together in the middle, that is just a run-stuffing defense. I wonder if we see Karlaftis kick in or Mike Dana kick in, and then you'll see FAU line up on the outside. So then you have a little bit more of a pass rush with FAU, Karlaftis on the outside, Mike Dana, and let's just say Derek Nottie on the end. How do you guys think that would look?
I mean, it sounds like our best option, I suppose. It doesn't sound like what I would necessarily have wanted 4 months ago, but as of now, I think that's going to be the direction that we need to go. It kind of makes me wonder too if Spags is going to unleash Willie Gay a bit to roam and come up the middle to try to provide some more pressure to get that push inside because of how athletic and quick he is. But there are a couple of the X factors that we didn't really mention earlier is Dana and Wharton inside, and if they can do anything, because if not, it's going to be a lot of David Montgomery right up the middle, and then Jahmyr Gibbs when we have to sell out. And the Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown, we haven't even mentioned. I mean, they got some playmakers, and their offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, is very creative. So we're going to need to see Spags really step it up, and I really hope that Dana has a big game inside.
Yeah. All right, Joe, I want to make sure people have time to place those bets before the game starts. You have 14 minutes, everyone, okay? You have 14 minutes. That should be plenty of time to place your bets. If you are placing your bets, again, please go to PointsBet Sportsbook right now, arrowheadaddict.com/bets. Make sure you go there, get a $150 credit that you can use on fanatics.com. All right, Joe, what do you have for us?
So I'll get through them quick. There's the first one, my absolute favorite, is the Chiefs to score over 28.5 points at DraftKings. Week one of every year of Mahomes' career, we've scored at least 33. Kelsey or not, I have confidence that we can score against a defense that ranked bottom 5 in opponent pass yards per attempt, opponent yards per attempt, opponent points per game, all these categories. Mahomes is going to get his. And Andy Reid off a bye, we all know how good he is. So I love getting the Chiefs over 28.5. Especially considering the offense knows it's going to need to score given what the Lions will likely put up. And Pat Mahomes, in those week ones of his career, he's thrown at least 3 touchdowns every single game. He's had 18 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. So I also took him over 2.5 passing touchdowns at plus 136 at DraftKings. I like the value on that. He's going to ball out. It's kind of what he does. But then I mentioned it earlier, the way that I expect the offense to look without Kelsey is going to be a lot of checkdowns to McKinnon. So you could get him at over 23.5 receiving yards. It ticked up a little bit, but one screenplay and McKinnon can take care of that. And he's a trusted receiver. I like Sky Moore. I want to see what he can do. And so I took him over 40 as well. Most importantly, though, the Chiefs falling, we're at minus 3.5 point favorites at FanDuel. We were 6.5 to 7 just a few days ago. Minus 3.5 on week one. The way Mahomes plays early, give me that. Absolutely. It's way too many points. And then Richie James, your man, Sterling. I went ahead. First touchdown scorer, because I really want to come on the halftime report and say Richie James got us plus 3,000 first touchdown. So that's where I'm at. A lot of Chiefs points. Mahomes, McKinnon, Sky, and our boy Richie.
Connor, what do you think about those? You throwing some G's down?
Oh my gosh. I lose every sports bet I've ever made. I stopped a long time ago, man. If it was like Monopoly money, I'm totally in. If it's your money, I'm totally in. But yeah, I ordered by the way, I ordered a Prince Tega Winogo jersey.
Let's go.
It's like a knockoff from China. It's taken like a month and a half to get here because I even lose the bets I make with Sterling. So yeah, that's my betting history.
Jess pointed this out real quick.
Don't
Jess,
worry.
I forgot to mention Mahomes over 19.5 rushing yards. I'm with Jess. The Lions allowed 41.5 rushing yards to quarterbacks last year because they play so much man coverage. So I'm with you. I forgot to mention that one. Thank you, Jess.
That's the one bet I ripped too. I ripped the over in this game, and I ripped Mahomes over rushing yards. I thought that was the smart move. Matt Connor, I want to ask you this. Jared Goff was one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL the first half of the season last year for the Lions. That coincided with a 2-6 start to their season. And then they finished the season on a high note. Winning 8 of their final 9 games. And Jared Goff, I can't believe this is coming out of my mouth, was a top 5 quarterback. I'm not saying that because I thought he was. The stats said he was. They showed he was. Jared Goff was top 5 in so many categories to end the year last year, that second half of the season. What Jared Goff are we going to see?
I think you'll see more of the latter. Part of that was about competition. Part of that was about Ben Johnson learning how to use these personnel. Few offensive coaches are better at scheming his guys open than Johnson. Certainly Andy Reid is better, but Johnson's on a list of guys who are very, very good at doing that. And Goff is a guy who relies so much on timing, and that takes time to get there. So it didn't surprise me that he crested at the end of the season. It was surprising that it was that disparate between two halves. But yeah, I mean, this isn't a team that's going to come into KC and just fall over. They're not.
I want to ask you guys before we get out of here. We got a few minutes left here. Player of the game. Who's a guy? We've talked about some keys to the game, but a certain player that you're trusting, that you're saying, if this guy has a good game, the Chiefs are going to go home with the victory. Or should I say, stay home with the victory? All right, I'll start with you, Joe. Who's your player of the game?
Oh, Mahomes, of course. No, other than Mahomes.
That's always a caveat.
Yeah, other than Mahomes. I'm going to go with Karlaftis, actually. I think that if Karlaftis can put some pressure on Jared Goff, because we're all going into this assuming that the pass rush is going to be an issue. If somehow we come away saying, wow, Karlaftis balled, then that means that the pass rush wasn't that bad. So if he has a big game, I think we win going away.
I'm going to stick with what I said earlier. I think if I had an IP address tonight, it's 3, because Isaiah Pacheco is going to run for 3 touchdowns. That's what's going on.
You can get big odds on that over PointsBet. Tell you what.
Well, if I had Monopoly money, I would do it. Ooh. Yeah, I just think Pacheco is a big night. He's been gaming this whole time. This is the perfect team for that. Let's remember this. If you don't have Kelsey, go with the horses who can move you. And Creed Humphrey, Joe Tooney, Trey Smith, Jawan Taylor, and Donovan Smith will move you there. And Pacheco is like pulling at the reins to get going, like one of those Alaskan sled dogs that just can't wait to get out there. I love it. I can't wait to see it. I think everyone's going to go, oh yeah, I forgot that this guy was like going to rush for 1,000 yards last year in half a season.
Yeah. I'm looking in the chat right now. Make sure you guys want to drop your X factor in the chat, the guy who you think is the player of the game. We'll read him out right now. I see Paul saying Jet McKinnon. I'm assuming that's what the JM is. Jess saying Jet McKinnon. Jalen Butler saying Nick Bolton. I'm going to go with Drew Tranquil.
Yeah,
I think Drew Tranquil, because with the lack of Chris Jones in this game, the lack of Charles Omenihu, Spags is going to have to be creative. His best chess piece is Drew Tranquil. He was top 15 last year in pass coverage as a linebacker. He had 5.5 sacks last year as a linebacker. They can use him on blitzes. They can confuse Jared Goff. They can drop him back into coverage. In my opinion, he's going to play either the most or second most snaps at linebacker in this game. I love Willie Gay Jr. I don't see him playing a ton because I think they need to use Drew Tranquil as this decoy. Maybe he looks like he's going to come up, he drops back, and then you see L'Jarius Sneed or Shamari Connor come on a blitz. I'm very excited. I think it all starts with Drew Tranquil.
I love that.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. Let's not forget this, and because 2 of the guys we're not talking about, there's no one with a higher ceiling on this defense than Trent McDuffie. No one. No one has a higher ceiling playing tonight on the defensive side than Trent McDuffie does. He now has a year in his pocket. Under his belt. I don't know why he'd put it in his pocket. Either way, he's got a year.
Well, one hand in his pocket and one smoking a cigarette.
There it is. He's got all Alanis going on.
Lenny Dawson style.
I wonder how he's going to look in his second season. And you could say the same thing about Kadarius Toney on the other side. I don't know that there's a higher ceiling of any skill position player playing tonight than Toney. Now, is he going to be on a snap count? How limited? How whatever? But if those guys remotely live up to what they can do, we're going to all feel kind of silly for talking about other people.
Yeah. All right. Score prediction game is about to get underway. We are getting close. You and I, Joe, Connor, and myself, and everyone watching, they want to get set up. They want to turn the game on. So score prediction, starting with you, Joe. What do you predict tonight?
34-27 Chiefs.
Connor.
30-20, and it's 30-3 at the halftime.
Ooh.
No second half points.
I'm just throwing out numbers.
Hey, I'm going 35-30 Kansas City, and you got that right, baby. That is a missed extra point from the Lions. That's how it happens. 35-30 Kansas City. Let's ride, everyone. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. This is the pregame show from Arrowhead Addict. We'll be doing a halftime show and a postgame show as well. Thank you guys so much again. If you guys want to throw us a like on YouTube, wherever you guys listen to your podcast, throw us a like on this pod on YouTube or on Apple Pod. Guys, we appreciate you guys so much. We'll see you at halftime. Until then, we are out.